Scrawlrbox, Scrawlrbox. This is what we want, it's the Scrawlrbox. It's that time of the month where we take a look at the UK's only monthly art subscription box. So we're just going to get battered in and see what is inside. I got my craft knife out thinking that I would need it, and I forgot we've got these new fancy boxes, and all we have to do is pull this tab off and we are good to go. So there will be usual suspects in here, and one of the new usual suspects that I keep forgetting about is the Scrawler zine. So it's like a mini magazine that is in with the contents of the box. So we usually get a surface to art on, supplies to art with. We get our Scrawler zine. We get a picture by a featured artist, and we normally get a Scrawlrbox sticker as well, and a sweet. And I have been quite impressed with Scrawlrbox this last little while. So we have, oh my goodness, right, let's start here. This is our featured artist, and this looks like white gel pen and possibly pencil or water soluble pencils, maybe, just at a guess. So this is Alice Coles, aka Hello Alice. She is a very popular YouTuber, and I'm sure some of you will have at least seen some of her work, and she primarily works in watercolour and watercolour pencils. All of her social media information is here, and this is a really cute picture. I really like it. We have our Scrawler zine, which is looking rather fabulous this month as well. We will delve into that in a little bit more detail. Now, this looks like watercolour paper to me. It is a pack. I don't know if it's actually a gummed pad. I think it's just sheets that are in a pack. There's quite a lot of paper there. So that was one of the things, one of my complaints. One of the things when Scrawlrbox did their survey, that was one of the things I kind of complained about, was the fact that they were really stingy with their paper. They seem to have remedied this, because that's been a few months in a row now. So that's really nice. Oh, this is so nicely wrapped. Look, I love it when they do this. And it all stays together. It's real nice. So we've got our list of supplies that we're just not going to look at right now. We've got our Scrawlrbox sticker, which matches our Scrawler zine, and I think that's real nice. I like it a lot. Okay, what have we got in here? Our sweet this month is a drumstick chew. These are super good. They're not good for your teeth, right enough. Right, let's see what we've got in here. We have got a Caran d'Ache Prismalo pencil. I think I've had one of these before. So this is like a water-soluble pencil. I'm almost sure I've had one of these before. I can't think when or where, but yeah, and I don't know where it is now either. So this looks like a black watercolour pencil, and you can tell it's a watercolour pen, or it's water soluble, should I say, because of this little paintbrush logo here. I zoomed in a little bit here. I seem to be really far away today. We've got a 08 white jelly roll pen. I have got these coming out my ears. I'm going to have to start giving them away. This is like a medium-sized nib white gel pen. Really good for highlights, and if I just refer back to Alice's artwork here, you can see where she's used that sort of thing. I get on a lot better with these than I do with the hybrid pens and the Uniball Signos. I don't know, maybe I'm just like slightly retarded, but I find these much easier to use. And a paintbrush. I've literally just sold one of these paintbrushes. It's a Sea White number 6, and I'm assuming it is yeah, it's a synthetic fibre. A number 6 round, fairly common. I call this the painting equivalent of an HP pencil. The Sea White brushes are okay. I've got nothing against them. I just didn't particularly like them, but mine didn't have a white tip on it. So I'll be interested to find out what the differences are when I read on. Oh no, when I read out all the information in the Scrawler zine. Okay, we have some Derwent pencils here. I'm assuming that these are going to be water soluble, because, well, that would be kind of limiting us to what we can do with our box if it's not. But I'm wondering which pencils of theirs it actually is, and how the jingle am I supposed to get in here. Oh, it's Derwent Inktense blocks. Oh, that's super exciting. Okay, yeah. As far as Inktense goes, I own the pencils, and I also own the little paint palettes, you know, like the half pan travel palettes. I do not own any Inktense blocks, so this is awesome. And these are going to be great fun, and also this is really helpful for that as well. So yes, I love this box. This box makes me happy. I kind of wonder why they still have this when they have been putting the supplies in the actual magazine. But I just feel that they could incorporate what's on here into the magazine instead of having this loose little bit of paper floating about. I'm not going to read the bump at the top. Let's just get down to brass tacks here. Let's talk about the Inktense blocks. They're highly versatile, water-soluble pigments which create vivid ink-like medium when combined with a little water. Once dried after application, Inktense becomes permanent. Okay, someone tested the I nearly said a bad word there. Someone really put these through their paces with this. They are not permanent, but they are really difficult to budge. They don't reactivate the same way as watercolour. And that's something I've got a bit of a pet peeve about when people start talking about watercolour pencils and someone brings up Inktense and I'm like, they're not watercolour pencils, they're ink-based pencils. You cannot reactivate them. So when you are, when you're working with them, you have to work quickly because once it is dry, that is it. Your backside is out the window in terms of being able to manipulate what you've put down. So that's a very important thing to note about Inktense in general. And that doesn't matter whether you use the travel pan set, the pencils or these blocks, that will apply across the board because it's the same formula. These satisfyingly chunky blocks, I don't think they're satisfyingly chunky. That's not chunky. Don't think so, Scrawlrbox, but okay. If you think that's chunky, that's fine. Saturated colours, extremely adaptable, can be used for a wide range of creative effects. You can use them like pans of paint with a wet brush to gather the pigment or dip the blocks directly into water. Oh, that sounds fun. Okay, we're doing that. They can also be used dry or applied to wet washed paper for instantly vibrant and intense colour. Right, the Prismalo pencil. Highly durable yet fine leads. Delicate details can be achieved with precision and ease. Adding water to the pigmented lead allows you to freely transform your work, using it as a watercolour pigment to create washes and mixed colours. This watercolour pencil is ideal for exact details as well as hatching with watercolour techniques. The lead is surrounded by quality cedar wood and the barrel is designed with a hexagonal shape to prevent rolling or slipping in your hand. Okay, the Sea White synthetic round brush. It's good for watercolour and ink medium. Soft and flexible bristles that are densely packed, making it great for holding water and dispersing pigment. It's a very resilient and adaptable brush. Now that's quite interesting because when I felt these bristles earlier on, the first thing I thought was that feels quite firm compared to the natural hair one that I had, the Sea White brush. And it upsets me a wee bit that they've got white bristles on them because they get grubby really quickly. At least with the natural hair coloured ones, it's not quite as obvious when your brush is all stained, because I don't want to taint it. The Jelly Roll pen, smooth results without the need to apply pressure, leaves even defined lines when you draw. Chemical resistant, waterproof, bleed free and quick drying, so there's no smears, feathers or bleed through on your creations. I can vouch for that because I use those all the time. The paper is Sea White of Brighton watercolour paper. It's cold pressed. The Sea White paper is superb acid-free paper that is suitable for watercolour printing in all wet media. It is a heavyweight and textured paper that gives fantastic results without stretching and does not buckle when water is added to the surface. This month's Scrawler challenge is Spirit Animal, and this is probably the most excited I am ever going to be about an art challenge. I can't wait to do this. Okay, that is awesome. Woo! I love this. I love you, Scrawlrbox. So let's have a quick flick through the magazine. So this is Alice Coles, aka Hello Alice, and she's quite a prolific artist as well. She's done a lot. So there's a little interview with her. Tips from the artist on these Inktense blocks. I maybe don't need to read this quite as much as I did last month's Scrawlrbox, but they'll be good to have a quick flick through as well, because I'm sure, having never used the blocks, that there'll be things I can pick up from here. And here is the gallery from the April Scrawlrbox. And I love seeing these. I really enjoy this. And I know who this is. Congratulations, you made it into the magazine. Woo! This is one of our cavers, guys. That's awesome. So good, so good, so good. That's just cheered me up, no end. Scrawler Extra, Colour Matters and Migration Madness. Okay, so there's just some more information, more of like newslettery type stuff there for you to read as well. I am so excited about these supplies. So we're going to have a quick swatch out, and then I'm probably going to brainstorm a few ideas over in my sketchbook, which I won't film. and we'll come back. Okay, so we're going to test the supplies out on one of our sheets from Sea White of Brighton. God, that's not easy to say. So first things first, let's go with this pencil. Now I'm wondering if this is actually a coloured pencil. Like as in, do these come in a set? I'm not sure if these come in a set or not. Because is this just a black pencil or is this just one of the only ones that they do? So as a pencil, obviously on watercolour paper, especially cold press watercolour paper, this isn't going to be, you know, as smooth as a baby's bottom. However, it seems to go down quite nicely and it seems to be quite even. So I just want to see, oh my goodness, that is intense. Look at that bad boy. Just want to see how, yeah, okay, it's really manoeuvrable as well because it is like an absolute furnace in here today. This is drying really quickly on the paper. But so the advantage to that is I now know that you can reactivate this without any problem. That is really, really deep. I'm impressed. Oh, kind of like that. Okay, so you can actually, you know, if you kind of work at it, you can completely dissolve your initial drawn lines. If you can see, I've just done that a little bit there. So this is like super soluble and that makes me really happy. See, if they hadn't given us the Inktense blocks and just given me this pencil and this paintbrush, I'd have been quite happy this month, truthfully. Oh wow. Okay, so the pencil is an absolute winner, and to be fair, I wouldn't expect anything else from Caran d'Ache. Their products do tend to be quite expensive, but there is a reason for that, and it's because they're very, very, very high quality. So I'm going to let that dry. I might actually just, while this is still damp, I'm going to add in a little bit more and make a really, really dark part in it so that I can show you the jelly roll on top of it. But I'll just need to make sure that it is completely dry or else things are going to look a bit, as a Scottishism for you, they'd look a bit manky. You know, they'd look a bit dirty. Right, let's try out these Inktense blocks. Oh. So we have got this very, very yellow, very yellow. Though they feel like, I want to say like an oil pastel, but not as squishy. I hope that makes sense. Because it's not chalky, like they don't feel like soft pastels. They're not chalky on your finger. They are definitely more waxy or oily as opposed to chalky. But I know what's going to happen with these. They don't look like much sitting here. You know, looks like someone scribbled on some crayon on the top of the paper. See, when you add water to these, they just go boom. And everyone goes, ooh. I'm interested to see how much of the pigment would come off in the cup or glass of water when you dip it in, if any. I'm quite curious about that. So we've got quite a nice range of colours here as well. I'm quite impressed. Got this kind of like light brown colour or tan colour. Let's boogie. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, I freaking love Inktense. It's so much fun. Okay, so let's see what happens then. I've got just a little glass of water here. Try and put it somewhere where it's not in the way. There doesn't seem to be anything coming off in the water. Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. This is really odd, but it's kind of cool at the same time. And you can keep, you know, if you've got a puddle of water on the paper, you can just kind of like, ooh, swish things about. That would be quite interesting for some texture and possibly some background work as well. They might be a wee bit too vibrant for that, but that's fun. I like that. Okay, I'm quite into the dippy innie technique. That's quite nice. I'm assuming this will stain the end of this brush again because it's ink based. My brush is looking really pretty. The tip of it. Now the good thing is that once these dry, you can layer it up because your dry layer is not going to shift because you cannot reactivate it. You can build up subsequent layers of this colour and get it ridiculously deep and vibrant if that's what you're after, if that tickles your fancy. So that's one of the really nice things about them. Obviously the downside to that is if you make a mistake or you're not quick enough, your pigment might not always end up exactly where you wanted it. Ooh, green, Gem's favourite. Yeah, so that's more of a burnt ochre. I am impressed. I like these a lot and it makes a nice change. My natural instinct when it comes to Inktense is to grab the pencils because that's what I'm most comfortable with. One of the things I've found with gel pens in general is you have to make sure that they're rolling before you actually start using them to save yourself any problems. I always have like off-coloured post-it notes beside me, so I always find that that's a good place. So you can see it's just taking a minute or two to get going, but now that I know that it's going. If I was going to put a highlight on here, again, I would do the same thing. I would put down like a layer first and I would let it dry and then I would go back over it. So we'll leave that just now because it won't look that vibrant. It does on the camera just because of the light balance, but it's looking pretty grey from where I'm sitting just now. But if we let it dry properly, you can go back over it and that is not an issue. I am so happy with these supplies. It's time to start on the Scrawler challenge. Alrighty ho, so I've had a bit of a play about in my sketchbook. Just out of interest, if you would like to see this sort of brainstorming sketching process, could you let me know in the comments please, because it's one of those things I never know where people find it awkward or boring or whatever. I personally just don't think you'd be that interested, but I'm convinced that these Scrawler boxes are making me lose my mind. I have sketched out a few ideas and it involves a person, and more specifically it involves something that resembles me, talking about spirit animals. So I'm going to go based off this idea. This is going to be a huge challenge for me because I don't draw humans, but what better place to try, and you know, yeah, I like to share these things with you. Again, with these videos, when I do the unboxing and with the actual challenge, I never expect any sort of great artwork because I like time to plan and really think about what I'm doing. So yeah, no expectations, but just have fun with it and try and see what we can come up with, and it'll give me a bit of a practice with faces. I'm not really all that comfortable about drawing my own face, but yeah, you know. So anyway, just before we move on with that, here is the white gel pen. That is 2 coats of white gel pen on top of the black pencil, and you can see that's popped out beautifully. So we're going to try and use that to my advantage while we're doing this as well. Having been mulling this over, one of the things that struck me is spirit animal is the prompt, and it depends on your art style and your artwork, but most spirit animals that you know, the sort of more common or garden spirit animals, if such a thing exists, they tend to be things like deer and hawks and that kind of thing. And this colour palette doesn't exactly lend itself to that, so unless you have an exotic bird as a spirit animal, I'm not entirely sure about how well we're going to be able to use these colours. So I've tried to think about that and, you know, sort of incorporate that. Now my spirit animal is an owl. That's basically where we're starting with this. So again, because I'm going to be drawing a human face, I am giving myself the luxury of an HB pencil, which didn't come in the box. That's a wee bit of a cheat. But again, I just want to make like a half decent attempt at this, so I figured that was maybe necessary. So I'm just going to start sketching out some lines. One of the things I'm very aware of since the last Scrawler challenge was my positioning of my Brian May in charcoal. The positioning on the paper wasn't great. Now I'm going to need the whole area in order to make this work, so I need to be very careful and think quite closely about the positioning of my drawing. So I'm just going to try and take that into consideration when I'm doing this. Otherwise I'm going to end up in a whole heap of trouble. I just want to sketch out some of my basic shapes first as usual. Again, I don't think this is particularly exciting for those of you that are watching, but obviously it's a necessity, and I'll try and keep this short and sweet. I've got to get the shape of my ear right. I did realise I took like a side-on selfie, if that makes sense, like a profile shot, and I realised I've got really big ears. The things you notice about yourself. I'll try and get that eyebrow in. I think that's slightly better. If I actually had more interest in drawing hair and things, I would probably spend a little bit more time, you know, actually learning properly. But I do this so infrequently, I'm not really that bothered, to be honest. That's just lazy, isn't it? I need to fix my nose shape. This is like an ongoing joke in our household in general. Because I come from Italian lineage, there's a standing joke about noses because we've all got really big noses. It's amazing the things that you notice about yourself when you do things like this. And I think I've said this before about drawing things, you know, when you learn to draw, you become very observant, and I know personally that wasn't something that I felt I was beforehand, but I definitely think I notice things about people and, you know, just life really, and I am a lot more observant now, which is, I find that quite interesting. I also realised how wonky my hairline is as well. I've got a really freaky hairline. I'm going to have one more go at fixing this mouth, and if it's not right then I'm just going to leave it because it's not that important. That's better, I'm quite happy with that. I need to work on my owl now. Yeah, so the spirit animal thing, we have an owl in one of our sheds, in one of our barns. I'm kind of fascinated by him because he just sits and watches you. So that was one of the, and I feel quite sort of, not attached to him, that's the wrong phrase, but I'm very curious of him, and he seems to just sit and watch. And I find it fascinating that he's not bothered by people or all the loud machinery or, you know, anything like that. I've never thought about owls having knees before. And I know our owl in the shed, I'm pretty sure Mr. Jem's got a name for him actually. He's got these big kind of like, it's almost like pantaloons. He's got these big fluffy bits at like his, what I would call his haunches, you know, at the back. And he's got these great big fluffy back bits. I don't know what they're called. I don't know what they're called. I haven't really noticed his tail feathers, so I've got a couple of reference images here. And they seem to have quite broad tail feathers. Okay, that is enough faffing about, so it's time to get down to some business. I'm just starting here, I'll put some water down on the paper, and then I'm just going to grab some colour straight off of here, and then I'm just going to spread it about a bit. I'll kind of let it sort of go where it wants to go. Speak, Gem. Now the nice thing is this paper is it's taking the water really well, and it is allowing me time to, you know, to work with the Inktense, because they say they do, once they're dry, that's it, you're done. So this is quite nice that I've got time to manoeuvre the colour around a little bit, and I don't feel as if I'm having to, you know, like really rush. Yeah, I really like this brush for the precision aspect. This is serving me really well. I'm quite liking this. So again, if that's something that's of interest to you, it has a Gem Colour Cave thumbs up for this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm really able to push this colour about quite a lot. Okay, I'm going to bring this down to just a sort of light wash in this area, because as I say, I'm not really entirely sure how wild we're gonna get with the hair strands. So I'm just taking this like straight off the stick with like a barely wet brush, and I'm gonna really build the colour up. So next I'm gonna work on my little owly friend, and I'm using this colour for this. You know, this was the one that came out like sort of this one here. So like a burnt something or other. So I'm just trying to get some colour in here. I could use the sticks sort of directly on the, you know, onto the paper, but I kind of feel that in a lot of places they're a bit too chunky. Is that the word? Yeah, that's the word. And I feel like I get on a little bit better this sort of way. Now I do want to try and sort of build this colour up around the face area. Now the owl and the owl and the me, I will be going over with some this black Caran d'Ache pencil as well, but I thought I would just get the colour in first. I've just realised as well that I've missed a leaf on this headdress part. Might as well just add some more in while I'm here, I think. Okay, it's time to go in with the pencil, and this is the part that I'm most excited about. And again, we can build this up in layers quite easily actually. You know, there is a little bit of movement when you re-wet over the top, but it's not so much that it is going to be an issue. And we don't have to do too much work with the pencil. It's really the water that's going to do the work. I am in the business of being too light-handed, I'm perfectly aware of that, so I may have to go back in and go back over things, but that is absolutely a-okay. There we go, that's looking alright, this one. Okay, we have eyebrows. Oh, there's the thunder starting. let's get going with this water brush now. And I just want to soften out some of these. Not all of them though, because I do still want to have, you know, a little bit of definition. And we can kind of play around with these and just kind of mess around with them really. And down to here. Just put a little tickle in there. This is going to be quite dark in here. I think I should have made that darker underneath there. You know, in at the base of the hair. But we can keep working on this. Get some awesome highlights going. I don't want to lose too much definition in these in the strands though. Obviously we're not going photorealistic here, but we still want it to resemble hair and not noodles. So I don't know if you can hear that or not, but the rain is properly coming down now. See, this was the forecast. We've had so many hot days, like really uncharacteristically hot for Scotland, so we were due it. Okay, yeah, I think I'm kind of cool with this so far. I really think there should be another tress in here. I'm trying my best to keep this hair like as loose as possible. I think I'm going to call it done at that. I think that's more than enough for an afternoon's painting. I can't say that I'm disappointed. I think I've done okay with this. Again, not being a person that does faces, I have tried my best. And the proportions are slightly out, I think, and it definitely doesn't look like me. I've given myself one of those Disney princess eyes, but we'll let that one slide. But I've really enjoyed this. It's been a really good exercise for me as well. And I'm quite glad to have actually drawn an owl, because it's not something that I would normally draw. I'm quite tempted to finish this off with a fine liner and give it an outline round, you know, like a thick outline round it, but that is obviously not part of the Scrawler challenge, so I may do that at a later stage. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, guys, and I hope you've enjoyed having a look at the supplies. I want to thank you as always for your support and for coming to hang out, and we shall see you back in the cave on Thursday for another video. Have a good day, everyone. Bye for now.